Alrighty, finally sitting down on the Sunday after going to see this on the Friday with a group of people from my work. Uh, so as you already know from the first couple of reviews, that this was a suggested movie series that I should watch from people at work that I work with. So yeah, finally went to see the third one in theaters there Friday night with a group of us. Um, and the movie I'm talking about is Magic Mike's Last Dance. Now, I guess we will see whether it actually is or not, hey? I'm kind of interested to know if it is or not. Um, Geez, who played the daughter? Wow, it's kind of weird that it's not on here. You would think she would have been one of the more main characters. Interesting. Doesn't even show her on there. Unless it was... Oh, right. Okay, there's just no photo for her. That's weird. And who was the... I don't know. Anyhow, so this is years after, I guess technically almost 10 years after, really, the events of the first one, or at least it's supposed to be. Which almost makes sense, I guess, because the last movie came out in 2015, so it's been 8 years anyway. So I guess saying that 10 years between the two isn't really that far-fetched. So now Channing Tatum's character Mike is now 40. It seems that he's kind of living through this recession, or has lived through the recession and kind of lost all of his businesses. So now he's kind of doing these odd jobs here and there, and he's working as a bartender for a very I guess, very higher up woman, and her name is Maxandra Mendoza, and she's currently in the States doing all these events, and I guess she's getting divorced from her husband, who is, what was her husband's name? Something Mendoza, I know that much. I just don't know why it seems for some reason that he's not... what was her husband's name? Oh, you gotta be kidding me, man. That's so weird that it doesn't even show... Nope, doesn't even show a photo of him. Anyway, she's getting a divorce from her husband, and she has places in London, obviously, that she's living, and she's being given this this theater known as I think it was the Ratigan. Was it the Ratigan or the Ratigan? Let me just see. Let me just see if I can find it. The Rat again. Let me see if that was right. Nope. Okay, we're gonna actually look up theater in Magic Mike. Okay. That's at a casino. I believe it was the Ratigan or the Ratigan or something along those lines. I do believe, if I'm remembering correctly. So they're doing this play here, but I guess it's kind of a pretty stale play as far as that goes. So she wants to kind of spice things up a bit, and so one of her friends tells her that Mike used to be a dancer. Little did she know that he was a stripper in his, I guess, kind of past life sort of thing, if you want to consider it that. So now so then he gives her this private dance. I guess she kind of falls in love with him a little bit right from the beginning, and she wants to bring him on to do this show, like direct this show, make it new. So the play they're doing, yeah, again, is stale, so she wants to spice things up a little bit. So he brings in he recruits all these dudes to do this one last grand finale show, I guess, for her to bring in money for her theater. And at each step of the way, her ex-husband, well, her soon-to-be ex-husband keeps trying to block her from doing what she wants to do, and he thinks that this guy's taking advantage of her, blah, 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 blah. But little does he know that she's falling in love with him anyway, so of course she's going to defend him, right? And Mike doesn't want her to give up on the dream, so he kind of goes behind her back when she's pretty much given up and decides that he's going to do the show regardless of whether he's going to get help from her or not. And man, does he pull it off, because he just brought in like all these random dancers and showed them how to do what he did the way he used to do it when he was actually performing all the time. So I guess he never really lost his talent, obviously, after all this time. Now, this movie felt quite a bit different. Now, it did have the old cast in it, too. So Selma Hayek played Maxandra Mendoza, and her daughter... Oh, no. That doesn't make sense. Because why would her daughter have a different name? Okay, who played the father? That was Kim's husband. Oh, so Kim was Kim was her friend that told her about Mike, because Kim was from the very first movie when he dressed up as the cop with the kid, and they did the whole little private striptease scene with them, and then, yeah, what was her husband's name? Oh, it must have been Roger Radigan was her husband's name. Oh, so it was the Radigan Theater. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So it was his family's theater, and I guess he had given it to her, so that's why he was trying to block her. So Sadie was her daughter. Or I guess, yeah, so Sadie was her daughter, but not her. Was it her biological daughter? I guess it would have been. But then I think there was some talk of adoption in there, too. I'm not really sure. I'm going to have to go back and watch that part of the story again, I guess, for this one. But anyway, this kind of felt, like I was saying, this kind of felt like a very different story, even though they did bring the old guys back, but not in the way that they should have, I think. So you did have Matt Bomer as Ken, Adam Rodriguez as Tito, Kevin Nash as Tarzan, and Joe Manganiello, I think is how you pronounce his name, is Big Dick Ritchie. But they only did like a small scene with them where they were on a video chat. You would think that for this movie they would have brought them back again to do the actual show for the last performance. Now I guess maybe it kind of makes sense, seeing as I guess in the second movie those guys said that they were all done with what they were doing, but it seems that they could have been used a little bit better in this movie than just a, kind of a short, like 3-minute video chat. Kind of depressing that those guys, that they didn't bring back the original cast in that way. But again, I guess this kind of feels like a different story where Mike is kind of separating himself from them and doing his own thing. Now, he was adamant that he wasn't going to dance in the final show, but I guess in order to save it, he kind of did have to do his little dance routine, and I guess he came up with the perfect idea. I guess when he was with Maxandra in the rain or whatever, when she was kind of giving up on everything, that was the scene that he ends up dancing to in the actual show with the ballerina. And yeah, so this movie was more, I guess, directed towards the kind of like the live show stuff that they're going to be doing down the road. I think later this year, somewhere in London, I think they have a few shows at least, to kind of bring a new spin on the whole Magic Mike thing, and I guess, yeah, take it national, kind of like the direction they were going to do in the first movie, which is kind of funny. kind of branching out a little bit. So yeah, this movie felt like it's kind of like its own story in a sense. And Victor was her kind of like her butler, played by Ayab Khan Din. Hope I'm pronouncing that name right and not butchering it. Uh, so he didn't like working for her, but I guess he stayed because the money was good. Obviously because she's very wealthy. And maybe he liked. I guess he had a pretty good relationship with Sadie, the daughter. So that was probably another reason Victor did stay. And yeah, he was kind of almost like a father figure to her. Um, even though she had a even though she had a dad, right? The dad kind of seemed like he was out of the picture, so I guess Victor was kind of like a father figure to Sadie. And she was quite a smart kid, even though she was younger, and it was kind of funny them sitting outside the performance at the very end of the movie. Um, but yeah, this just felt like it was taken in a very different direction compared to the first two movies. And at least, I guess we kind of got to see Channing Tatum do one final dance, I suppose. But I mean, they played his song from the first movie, Pony, and he wasn't even in that part of the movie. So it, yeah, I guess it kind of sucked in a sense that he was pulling away so much from what the first two movies were. But I know this says that it's the last dance, but it almost feels like, seeing as they're taking this story and pulling it in a different direction completely, that it might be the last dance for him, but it could possibly potentially open up the doors for, I guess, him kind of like directing these younger guys in the future for a maybe even two or three more movies possibly. I kind of feel like maybe that's why they did it this way, because they're all getting older now, and maybe possibly they're just going to start running their own business. Is potentially there's potential there for that, because now Salma Hayek's character, Maxandra, is broke after Mike decided to go ahead and do the show. But at least he kind of has a new love interest, and I feel like there is potential for another movie, even though this says The Last Dance. It also said on the poster, like the final tease. So I was like, kind of feels like after watching this movie that they're gonna do another one. I just can't see that they wouldn't. Actually, let's just click on Channing Tatum and see if there is going to be another one. Because usually if the film does well, so he's got 11 upcoming projects. Now it doesn't say, oh, see? I'm kind of wondering. Okay, never mind. I almost thought that might have been it. Okay, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see whether they do another one or not. It kind of seems like that's where they were possibly taking this. Now this wasn't as good as the first two movies, so yeah, it wasn't as good as the first two movies. The second one is my favorite by far. I think I said that in the review of the second one anyway. But yeah, it is definitely my favorite by far. The first one was kind of an introduction to the characters, right? And the second one really showed, yeah, it just really showed some character development with all of them, and the whole thing about them doing their like final show was pretty cool. But this one was very different compared to the first two, and didn't quite have. Yeah, I think the lack of involvement with the original cast kind of maybe took away from it. I mean, bringing in new cast was great. Don't get me wrong, new story kind of thing. But I feel like they should have had them in the movie. And that's why I only gave this movie a 7 out of 10. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was still good as like a standalone story, but that's more what it felt like compared to kind of kind of like a final show for the Magic Mike franchise. It almost felt like its own movie in a sense. Um, and maybe that's the direction they were going, like I said, so that they could do some more movies in the future. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see where they want to take it, or whether they're just going to keep doing this live show type thing. Um, Either way, I guess if this is the last movie we get, it is what it is. And yeah, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens down the road. Anyway, 7 out of 10 for this movie, and I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.